Okay, we'll be calling to order the meeting of the Tree and Landscape Advisory Committee. And we have an agenda. The first thing on the agenda is that Lacey's going to tell us about a native plant that she recommends that we consider using in our landscapes.
Yeah, so in past meetings we've seen examples of shrubs and trees, and so I just wanted to really quickly go over some flower examples that you might use in your home gardens. And I just wanted to suggest some things that you might use rather than some alien, I guess I used that word, alien species rather than natives. So something like the orange tiger lily, if you're thinking about planting that, why not think about planting butterfly weed? It's got bright orange flowers, it's very striking like the tiger lily, and obviously butterflies love it, so, okay. Another example is Queen Anne's lace. That's not native to Arkansas. So why not use something like white yarrow, which is, and it's helpful to bees and butterflies and stuff. And lastly, oh, thank you. And lastly, for example, morning glories. They're very striking blooms, but again, not native to Arkansas. So use something like clematis, which I see everywhere here around in our community, but clematis is native to Arkansas and more beneficial to our wildlife.
Thanks, Lacey. We've sort of started a tradition of doing this before each of the meetings, and we have no one scheduled for the next couple of meetings on this subject of opening the meeting with an introduction to a native plant that might be fun to use. Does anyone in the committee want to volunteer to do that for next time?
Sure, I'll do it. I actually been scheduled to do it the last time, and I missed because
And you're going to continue with this, is that right?
Yeah, I just been. I was working at the city of Silent Springs, and it was really hard for me to get here, and then I started working at Walmart, and it's the same thing. But I'm going to endeavor to make all the meetings. If you want to do it, that's fine. I had just missed that. And
yes, you were ready.
You go ahead. I'll do it. I'll do it the next time or whatever. But yeah, you go ahead.
Let's put James down for the next month. That's June, and in July.
Maybe.
We'll wait and see what her schedule is. Yeah. Okay, go. Well, James, for sure, we know that much.
Just remind me I volunteered.
Okay. And the next thing we have on our agenda is that there's a discussion on the tree giveaway for invasive removal, and I don't remember us actually deciding to do that or not.
This is a new item.
Oh, you have something in mind for it. Okay.
Well, this is something that we were, the Parks and Recreation staff was asked about from another citizen. And so we want to bring it to the Tree and Landscape Committee for your discussion. Now, it's not necessary that you make any decision on it today. It's just that we want to bring this to your attention, allow you to think it over, discuss it, and if you wish to do something, you may. If you don't, then that's up to the committee. What this is that we had a citizen's request to start thinking maybe a little bit differently about the Celebration of Trees tree giveaway. And we had talked, maybe about doing a separate event or doing something else. Well, what this is that, and the logistics of doing this are not worked out. So this is, kind of an open scenario that still needs to have a lot of things figured out. But the basic idea is that with the Streamside Protection Ordinance or other places in the city that have a lot of invasive species in them, if someone were to voluntarily to undertake the task of removing those invasives from either the Streamside Protection Buffer or from some place on their property that is heavily infested with invasives, would the city or the committee or somebody be able to maybe give them some trees to plant back as an incentive for going and doing all of that work? And so instead of having all of our trees available just for a free giveaway, we don't necessarily know if they're going to be planted or not. Maybe we could take some of those trees or all of those trees and have it for some kind of incentive program for people that go through the process of removing exotic and invasive species from their yards or business areas and stuff like that. Yes.
would they have to prove that they had done this, or did they just come in and say, guess what, I just removed 5 big honeysuckle bushes from my property, hand me my plants, please?
Well, that's part of the logistics. We've discussed with solid waste a little bit about how we might do this, and we thought we might have one day where people would bring in their pickup trucks or their trailers, and we would be able to have somebody from the committee or the staff kind of there at solid waste when they came in to weigh in, and we'd see, you know, they'd lift their tarp up and we'd go, okay, you got honeysuckle on there, and you got whatever's there that we commonly see as invasive species. And we go, yeah, they've been cleaning out an area, and then give them 2 trees, or 1 tree, or 5 trees, you know. I mean, all that is the logistics of it. This is just the premise of an idea, and then should we spend a lot of time working out the logistics of it and how we're gonna do it. But I mean, yeah, it is a question, how are we gonna know where that came from and where those trees, you know, might go back to and stuff like that. And that's, you know, they'll have to be showing that they are a city resident, they'll still have to show proof of that. And so we hope that invasive species got removed from that parcel that they say they own, and that they put the trees back in that parcel that they say they own.
What if somebody came in with a 10-foot grass repair? Would they get a foot-long stick tree, or would they get a...
Well, I mean, that's, again, that's the logistics part of it, is the committee could decide that they want to do sapling giveaway, or they would do it with our 1 gallon or 3 gallon material.
I think that's the logistics. What we have to kind of figure today is, do we have a gut, what kind of gut feeling do we have about this idea as opposed to, or in conjunction with, or?
Well, it's one of these, it's where you could say, we're gonna discontinue the celebration of trees altogether.
We could.
And go with this program. We could say, we're gonna give a percentage of money to the invasive program and keep money for the celebration of trees. But the other part of that is there probably have to be 2 different days that you do these on, so it's 2 days
Two
that
projects.
people would have to be available to volunteer to help with.
My gut feeling is that we should continue the tree giveaway as it's been. I mean, obviously, I think it's great when people want to remove these invasive species, but is giving them a couple of small trees going to be that much of an incentive? I mean, to me, the incentive is getting rid of these invasive species. It's kind of like virtue is its own reward. Well, that's what I think. I think the kind of people who are really going to go out there and do that are going to do it anyway, whether or not they get a couple of little trees. And I like the idea of the trees going to just anyone who shows up and wants them, whether or not they have rid their yard of all these invasive species. That's just my personal feeling.
Well, one thing on this, that I'm a member of, actually the president of Local 965, which is the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. And each year we do clean up the Great House, the park there. And one of the things that was mentioned there is if we should not only clean up the park, but also set aside a time to go in and maybe get rid of some of the invasive species, but then not leave it to where that buffer zone is going to be eroded. Therefore, in that situation, we could clean up, and then in the areas that were left blank, put some native species in there. So that's one of our questions. You know, how do we go about doing that? And so I think in that situation, sure, have the tree giveaway, but maybe we could have 10%, 15% of the trees or some of the different species be available. If the people know, say ahead of time, I could say, this is something that we would like to do. Therefore, when the trees come in, there could be a certain percentage set aside for that specific occasion, for that specific site.
Yeah, oh, I'm hogging the stage here.
Go
Emily?
Well, if that were to happen, let's say you ripped out a whole lot of Japanese honeysuckle, well, you wouldn't necessarily replace it with a tree. You might want a native vine, you know. Mm-hmm. So, and the honeysuckle bushes, you might want a native bush. So I would think it would make more sense to replace with a similar kind of plant.
We could get a variety, just as we did for our Frisco
Right.
Trail. You can get as many as 200 varieties in packets of 25 for not very much money, but, and then we gave away some shrubs last year as well as trees apparently, so that shrub-tree dichotomy is not too much of a problem. Lois, did you want to say something?
Well, I just think that the tree giveaway has become such a popular thing that I think a lot of people would be disappointed, first of all, if it wasn't held. Me for one, because I've got them for several years. Okay. The second thing is that, you know, about 2 months ago, John Pennington had this big workshop, riparian workshop, and gave away as many trees as you wanted at that time, which I thought was really out of sight. And they were very good trees. So people that were interested in, I don't know if they had any invasives around their area, but anyway, it's sort of similar to me.
It is. Riparian and invasives are really, there are a lot more places that invasives are than riparian zones, so that's one thing to think about.
Is it,
Do you have a thought on this?
well, yeah, I was wondering if it's possible to concentrate or prioritize the tree giveaway to areas that are affected by the streamside ordinance, that are losing due to erosion and such. Is there a way to do that, just to concentrate that effort to those areas that have been most affected?
That seems to be pretty complicated. Would it be complicated?
Oh, that's...
And it's so specific, some people would be left out.
Yeah, the invasive species are all over the hills and the valleys and everywhere, so to all of a sudden do the streamside ordinance, there are people focusing on that already without our having to do that so much. My opinion. Lacey?
Yeah, I just want to say, so at the last meeting, someone brought up like the issue of actually like banning invasive species in our area, or there was some discussion.
We had that on farther down here, and Greg has given us some
well,
information.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about it later, but this kind of, to me, speaks to that. Like, if there was, instead of like a punishment for that, if there was an incentive program like this, personally, I'd feel more comfortable with that. I think that would be a lot more popular. And then, as a couple of you have said, I think it'd be best to do some as the tree giveaway and then some maybe for this program.
Maybe we could make a general decision now that we'd like to have something of each and a % of each. Could we make that decision today? I mean, how much money is there, by the way? I mean, how many trees are there available to
Well, you're discussing a sum value of $9,000. Okay. Now, that money goes farther when you buy 1 gallon material than it does when you buy 3 gallon material. It just depends on what's available from the nurseries. Until I get the list that we would like to have, and then start calling the nurseries and trying to find it, and then they actually tell me what they have. Sometimes that works out that way, and we can't get exactly what we want sometimes, and then sometimes we can't get it in the sizes we want. Say we want, a river birch or something like that. We can only get them in 3 gallons. They
So
don't
we
have
could-
1 gallon. So the money part of it changes depending on the size of the species that we're buying. And a lot of times, I think John's trees that he was giving away, I think they were saplings. Yeah. So that's different too, because some of those saplings you can get from the state for $25 for
$8 for 25.
Yeah, $8 for 25.
Right.
This type of deal. So I mean, you can purchase those, and they can go a long way. And that's something that's doable, but then you gotta do that basically between December and March if you're gonna
So that could be when our program is on that, or our subject, or our giveaway is. And that's pretty, and I was thinking that when we did the Frisco Trail and we put all those little ones there, I mean, a lot of the ones that I have at home from left over from that, they're coming to life very happily. They're gonna grow pretty quickly. So I think people might be happy to get little how do you say, seedlings rather than big 1 gallon things to put in there in exchange. They can fill more gaps if they had a lot of things taken out. They'd have more things to take home and spread around if they got little seedlings, and they were pretty much guaranteed to grow if they put them in the right place and time. So, but that wouldn't take all that much money from the 9,000 to do the invasive species part of it, and then a good part of it could be left for our celebration. It would mean double the work though, remember, we just talked about that. What do you guys think about splitting it, and doing two things somehow or other?
You probably have to do the celebration of trees in October, and then maybe do the invasive one in March or something like that.
Well, I don't know why it has to be that late, because
It doesn't, I'm just saying,
Who is
to
our
spread your
volunteer
time out, because
coordinator?
everybody,
Lisa is telling me that she only believes in the city that we should be planting these things in the fall, not in the spring, and that was really a bad timing on our part to put them over there on the trail in the spring. So we're hoping to, I mean, people in general should probably get used to planting things in the fall. If it wouldn't be that hard to turn that all around and get the logistics of it worked out. We're gonna kind of slow down on our programs for a while, or at least that I know of. And maybe that'll give us projects to do in the fall that are, not that we're looking for projects to do in the fall, but if we want to.
So are you suggesting splitting the plant material in half?
Not half, in some ratio.
Okay.
If it was seedlings, it wouldn't take much money. We just told you, it's for 25 seedlings, it's $8.
'cause
You
I'm
get
worried
hundreds
about-
and hundreds, thousands and thousands.
Since it's unknown how many people would participate,
Yeah.
it's one thing to, of course, buy a tree. It's another thing to go out and have to weed an area to get a tree.
Sure.
Some people just have a few people to do that, so.
That's true.
You can think about that.
It's hard to know
That's
how many.
hard work.
It is. We got the weed wrench, but just one of them, so. Oh, well. Anybody
I
else?
think that's a good idea,
Do
but
you?
I wouldn't, I guess what I'm saying is that I think that's a good idea, because I mean, I live down by Sweetbriar Park, and I really wished I had more resources to go through and get the invasives out of that area. They just redid part of the creek, and they've done some work, and it needs more work, but it's just a lot of work. And I mean, some of those shrubs are, you can't pull them out with your hand.
I'm gonna let you
have
borrow
a
my
pickup
weed
truck.
wrench, because it really pulls them up
Well, I don't know if you get with a weed wrench, you'll probably have to pick up some of these
Yeah, you would.
large shrubs and trees.
Largest.
They're tenacious. But I think that's a good idea. I mean, I like the idea. I'm game for giving it a whirl. I just wouldn't, I would get a percentage of like maybe 10 or 20% of the trees, because you may not get a big response because, again, of the effort required to do this.
Well, partly it's just an educational thing to call people's attention. There is such a thing as an invasive species. They'll know there's an invasive species, that we're concerned about it. And this year there may not be much participation, but through time they may become more aware of them, and maybe if we, I don't know, might do it again and might have better responses. It's just a way to get the word out that there is such a thing. Does anybody want to make a motion one way or the other about what we should do with this? I don't know how you word it and what ratio it would be. Do we need to know a ratio of the $9,000, or how would we?
it would either be a set amount, a ratio, but
Well, couldn't you like work on scheduling this so that you do this part of the program first and then see what's left over? I mean, could you do it that way?
well,
I guess you have to buy them all
If we
at
celebration of
once,
trees,
right?
I'll spend all of it to get it in and, delivery and everything.
Yeah.
And then, so we have as many trees as possible to give away in October.
It seems like it'd just be a whole lot of extra work, and what if, for example, we said, okay, we want to take 10%, $900, and get things, and then, hardly anybody participated the first year, so what are we gonna do with those $900 worth of trees, So,
Good question.
I make a motion, and y'all don't have to vote for this, that we think about this, but the tree giveaway for invasive removal, but we don't do anything this year, and we just do the regular tree giveaway in October, but that we continue to talk about this.
Okay, is there a second for that motion?
May I have just a discussion?
I think we'll have a second.
Okay,
before we
go
can-
ahead.
If anybody, it can't be discussed, this particular motion, unless we have a second. We need a second.
Is Is there another motion?
Yeah, this motion would then die.
This motion then
Okay.
died, no, so then is there somebody else that has an?
Yeah, I just have a question on it, which may, what I'm thinking about is that, say, we clean up an area, I don't see why all of that cannot be at the same time. So the trees or the bushes come in, the shrubbery comes in at the same time. You know, everything's at one time. So at that point, say, parts are cleaned up, and then at the tree giveaway, there would be maybe a small amount set aside for, like, if somebody asked, if there is a interest of a person asking, well, can I have 10 of something? So it can all be at the same time, not two separate times.
But then we'd have it that way of the logistics problem of saying who did it, how did you really do it? If they came to, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they get a little receipt.
I can have a picture.
They can have a
take
yeah.
a picture. Of
I mean,
what
I don't
you've
care what
done.
it is myself. I take them on their word myself.
At Great House.
Yeah.
At that park.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a picture. This is what was done,
Mm-hmm.
and then, or whoever wants to do it, maybe another group or whatever. And then, I mean, I don't know how to get this started. I don't know how. This is just an idea, but if there is proof that that was done, then at the same time as the tree giveaway, then you could have more than 2 trees. Or maybe as a group we can all come in and say, for each of these citizens of Fayetteville, you get 2, you get 2, you get 2. I mean, you know what I mean?
So you would,
So it'd be the same time. And then I know it sounds way confusing in what I'm presenting, but I'm just saying, does that make sense to anybody? Like, if you're taking care of a park or something and then you've cleaned it up or something, and then say, well, we would like to have 10 bushes.
Shannon was going to say.
But it's the same time.
go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, to piggyback on what you were saying, you want this to affect as many people as possible. And what about if you concentrate the efforts on, let's say, a community outreach program where you get in there, community involvement, and you choose a park or several parks,
Right.
and you get people involved to clean out the invasive species, and then those people, of course, will be rewarded with trees of their own. Then you can get people out there as a group effort to identify and get together and remove these invasive species, kind of like an education, symposium, while you're also providing good for the people of Fayetteville to enjoy the parks and the birds and everything else. And then, of course, maybe those people would have first pick of the leftover trees. Am I kind of...
Yeah, I know, but and maybe this is something it sounds almost too confusing to bring up. But just like you cleaned up around the area at Frisco Trail, and you're planning or going to plant something in there. So it'd be that same sort of effort, but in a different park.
Location. I understand.
So, but I don't know where you got the plants for that, or if the city you just got them
I bought them
yourself.
myself from the city.
Right. So it could be an entirely different subject matter. I mean, I may be confusing
Great
you
ones.
too much.
If I could.
Help us out here.
First, let me just kind of clarify something. This was not meant, and I like the idea that you're talking about
Right.
from a Parks and Rec perspective. However,
Right.
that's not really what the intent of this was. It was not about people helping out at a park to remove invasives and then giving them trees.
Okay.
Maybe that's the way we do it. I'm just saying, the original idea behind this is to try and give the incentive to private property owners
Right,
to do it.
right.
So if they go onto their property, look around and go, you know what, I've been putting up with this for 15 years,
Yeah.
about time I get out of here and get this done. We've educated, there's some information starting to float out there about invasives. And I think there's going to need to be more of that done. So there's going to have to be a public education process to this, not just the incentive of the trees, but there's going to have to be a public education process. And then the trees are just kind of like a thank you. We appreciate
Right,
your effort
sure.
that you've put forth. It's not a big thing like, oh, well, they're going to do it because they're going to get 2 or 4 trees or something like that. But it's just something to try and give something to somebody. Because with the tree giveaway, we have struggled the last few years to get rid of the last 200 trees.
Right, yeah, see, that's what
So
that's what I
we've
know.
had that.
I'm going like, hey, these are left over.
Some
you know.
people have only so much space to put trees, and the people that are interested in trees might have already maxed out on their trees, and maybe the shrubs could still be coming, but listen.
Nancy,
Allison.
one thing that was discussed logistically, and it could be a possibility, but actually moving the tree giveaway so that we could, Betty, to your point, do it on the same day, and maybe you would bring in your or move vegetation into the compost facility, because that's where you dump it, and then have a tree giveaway there, so that while as you bring in your stuff, you know, someone could see that you're bringing in your invasives, and then you could also pick up your tree. That was just an option.
That would save a step too. Yeah, sure.
That sounds way too, I think I've just complicated everything. Let's, and that may be a whole different issue. I may be talking about two different issues, one with total parks and recreation, the other with private people.
I think it
So,
is.
so I think maybe what I need to do to keep, just to stop all the confusion, go ahead back with your original motion and move to just do, set up the tree giveaway as we did in the past, and just, then we'll figure the other thing out later. So I move that we do the tree giveaway as we have in the past.
This year.
And, okay, do we have a second? And that means without, are you saying,
So no incentive to change the behavior.
No incentive to change anything, we'll just deal with this. This is
Some
maybe
other
more
year.
for parks, but it's a question that I had, and so it's something.
is there a
I'm
second
going
to
out.
do our tree giveaway just as we always have and ignore Emily said?
I second it since I
She's-
started.
Since she started at the beginning, but I just wanted to clarify that, sorry.
Okay, now we can discuss that, whether we want to just do a tree, Greg.
Well, I'm not sure that the motion was concise enough, and I know what you were trying to get to, but I'm a little concerned that it doesn't have on there that this will be an item that's continued to be discussed. So,
Is your concern, I mean, I don't even understand whether you think we should allow that to come up the rest of the year, the invasive species, or do you put it off
Oh,
to
no,
next year?
Well, have the tree giveaway in the fall like we already have.
Gotcha.
I mean, that is my motion, to have the tree giveaway, and I'll let somebody else make a motion about the invasive
Yes,
species.
so we could do the other as far as you're concerned, but we'll definitely have that one. I think we got
Right,
it.
so my motion is to have the tree giveaway in the fall, as we have in the past, and that is specifically a tree giveaway for the community.
if I may.
Yes.
Okay, so I understand that there exists a possibility still to address the invasive issue
Yeah.
separately.
Right, that's just my tree giveaway thing.
Okay.
That's just a very separate.
Okay, all right, everybody that wants to go ahead and do, is there any more discussion on the item of whether we have a tree giveaway this fall at the park, at the square?
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Can we just table the issue? Just table it. We'll discuss it later. I mean,
He has to order some-
we're having to vote on something that's already happening, and the possibility of something else happening. If we just table it, we can discuss it at the next meeting. We just haven't come to a decision yet. Is that possible?
But the only thing, he has to order these things right away, and he would
I
have,
see.
he would have to
Oh, I
choose the
see.
plants
That's the
tonight.
case.
I mean, this is a real simple thing. I'm just, we're gonna have a tree giveaway.
We don't
period.
want, okay.
You know.
And maybe
I
we
don't
could just
see-
provide some information on invasive species at the tree giveaway, and just.
That would be the next thing to discuss, what.
But that'll be your motion.
Okay.
My motion is there's gonna be a tree giveaway in October.
At the square.
At the
I'll
square.
second
At the
that
square.
motion.
Okay.
All right, now,
Tree giveaway in the fall.
Is there any more
at the
discussion
square.
as to whether we or not we should have a tree giveaway at the square this year?
Do you want to add the date and time? The time is usually at the opening of the farmer's market.
We're gonna do the,
Opening, closing? Oh,
No, when it opens in the
Oh,
morning,
time of
start
day,
time.
okay.
yes, in the early morning, as early as we could possibly get up, what is it, at 6 o'clock, or was it 5 or 6 o'clock?
And what's the
We usually
reason
get
for
there at
this?
6. and they
What's the
start
reason?
at
6
7.
o'clock,
So early?
6 o'clock at the early, so we will be ready when the farmer's market opens in the morning of that time.
I believe they open at 7.
Yeah, they do, that's why we get there at 6.
Is there a reason that we have it the first thing in that morning?
Hang on, just a second.
Okay.
She's basically amended her
Okay.
motion,
Okay,
so it would take the person who seconded,
well, let's go ahead and do
Second,
the rest of it while she's
before-
at it, maybe the times and place and all.
Okay, I will amend the motion. Around
And the
6
date.
o'clock in the morning, in the fall, before the farmer's market, so we'll be ready, and it will be a tree giveaway.
Which date?
the start
Usually
time,
it's in October.
the start time would have to be 7.
Right, start time is 7, but we'll be there at 6, right?
That's what we've done in the past.
We have October, okay, what about October the 15th?
Saturday, October 15th.
Just out of curiosity, does anybody check the football schedule?
No. No one's gonna be playing football at 7 a.m.
Maybe the night before.
Are
I'm
they?
just saying.
Out of town and in town, he's concerned
Right.
with whether there's gonna be, I don't guess, how does that affect the market? More people come that, or one that's in town, is that the deal? Or-
Apparently,
Okay. I think I'm not concerned about
But
that,
the
maybe a reason.
the flip side of that is that there's supposedly less traffic congestion and so forth, even at that time, due to it being out of town. So
Gotcha.
we've been doing them on the weekends that it's out of town.
Okay. So,
Okay, weekend out of town, depending on what weekend that is in October.
Can you find that out right now with your little
I'm
wrist
trying.
phone? Okay.
you know, I kind of wish we had a subcommittee that would work out some of these details and bring it to us. It's not really right for us to sit here and do this whole committee work in an hour, plus all the other things we need to do. It would have been better, we didn't plan it this year, but in the future, that somebody should help present this to us after having thought out a lot of these things. Anyway,
Well, we've complicated it with the
Quite a
question about the invasive.
but
That
we
was-
still have to choose the plans. We have so many other things to discuss here today, which are going to be very difficult to get through in the next 30, 40 minutes, so.
As part of this issue with the invasives and so forth, I provided you with a list of Washington County invasives
Yes.
and the information that you asked for last time about what city list do we have
Yes.
of invasives.
Yes.
And that was the landscape manual invasive list.
But that's a whole other subject we need to talk about, what, if we want to do something about changing that list or updating or make that list more, I mean, that would be, to me, this is on,
Yeah.
while she's
These-
waiting, maybe we could, I don't know. Could
This,
we-
at this point, was just provided for information
Right.
as of what was asked of me
Right.
from last meeting.
Right. Could we could we go on to the next, what should we do while she's finding the exact date? Can we put her motion on hold in some way?
Yeah, you can,
Can we put your motion on hold, Betty, for a second while we go on to, is there, while she gets the date figured out, is there any, does anybody want to say anything about the rest of the invasive species thing? I know it's down further in the agenda, or at least it's supposed to, it's on the other items that I know about. Maybe when we work more on the invasive species list for the city or talk about policies for the city, maybe that's the time to hit it hard, because we really don't even have a policy in the city about invasive species. And if we're going out and educating people about it, we really don't have any basis to do that as far as the codes in the city are concerned, the way I see it right now. So maybe we should kind of put it off till next year and work more on getting the codes updated, or not exactly codes, but policies, I would say, before we do this.
Is it true that the most pressing matter for our meeting today is choosing the trees which will be given away, trees and or shrubs, etc., for tree giveaway? We have to do that today.
Yeah, we do.
I move that we go immediately to that item and try to come up with something.
Okay, I think you're right about, that's something
Second that motion.
someone, okay, so that's on the floor now. You got a list from Greg about what we've done in the past. And you also, at one time in the past, got a list of native trees that Greg gave us. Trees only, and I think there might be, I don't know if there's any shrubs on here or not. It doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
We've had a motion and a second for
Oh,
no vote.
we're discussing, oh.
If there's a discussion you wish to do, that's fine, but if you're trying to move, you don't discuss the actual item. You can discuss about the motion,
Oh.
but if you want to move
You
to
guys,
that.
okay, you want to discuss, does anybody have anything to say about whether they want to discuss? We have a first and a second, a motion and a second, that we'll choose the trees in our next order of business. Does everybody agree with that motion or not? By saying,
All in favor?
or say aye.
Aye.
All right, so now we can, there's already, you have your list. Has anybody got some ideas of the trees or shrubs you want to hand out at this next celebration of trees?
What do the colors delineate?
The colors are the same tree, been given away several times. So if you see pink, if you look at pink each time, it's the same tree.
Thank you.
Do we want to stay with any of these trees?
Well, that's, what I tried to do there was just give everybody an opportunity to see that these are the trees that we've given away in the past, And if you have a colored one, that means we've done it more than at least once. And so you may want to stay away from the trees that we've done 2 or 3 times because we've already done those trees. Or maybe they are very, very popular and we need to continue with those.
And do we want to get a little bit of a ratio of shrubs in there? And do we want to choose mostly natives? Those are things I'm wondering about. Cindy emailed me back about her thoughts on the subject. She said from last year, we needed more dogwoods. We don't need as many red buds. We needed some evergreens, possibly a holly. Viburnums are very good for plant food. That's what she said, but does anybody have any other thoughts on what they'd like to see in the ratio or types?
I like the sky pencil holly because of the low water usage once they're established, and it's a small shrub.
The same what?
The sky pencil holly.
Okay.
Since most of you weren't on the committee last year,
Right.
I'll let you know kind of my feelings on this.
Sure.
Is that it's called Celebration of Trees. It's not Celebration of Trees, it's not Shrubs, it's not Celebration of Landscaping.
Okay.
It's called Celebration of Trees.
Okay.
I feel strongly that it really should be all trees
Okay.
and not any shrubs.
Okay.
There runs a idea that there are people who have participated in the tree giveaway before and they don't have room for any more trees.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that, but I also understand the idea is that we're trying to grow the tree canopy in the city.
Okay. Gotcha.
And if those people who have maximized their tree space on their property can't put any more trees on, then we've done our job if they put some of our giveaway trees on their property. What we're trying to do is get the people who don't have trees or have very few trees.
Okay.
And so I just would like the committee to be aware that my preference would be to do all trees. But it is up to the committee's decision to decide whether they wish to do any shrubs or not. So that.
I'll stand with Cindy. If Cindy were here, she would say she would like trees and shrubs.
Yes.
So I would like to make a motion that we do trees and shrubs.
In what percentage?
Well, we'll talk about that.
Oh, and we need a second, by the way, if we're going to talk about that. Does anybody else want to have trees and shrubs? Need to second the motion on that? I'm kind of leaning with Greg there.
Okay. That's your
amazing.
Cindy's gonna be upset. No. Because of butterfly bushes.
Yes, I understand all
I
of
think
that.
that the shrub giveaway might be something to discuss later to substitute for the invasives.
That's a good idea.
Because the invasives are more in the nature of, shrubs or smaller plants.
And people will be more willing to hit the smaller invasive species and pull up some larger invasive species. It's more labor intensive also, I think.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second that we go with trees on. Did anybody say? No, we have a motion and a second that we do with
Trees and shrubs.
Okay, we have a motion and a second that we do trees and
Who's
no,
second?
we don't have it dies. All right, sorry, I forgot about that part. All right, do we have a different motion by any chance on this subject?
You're saying do a separate shrub giveaway, independent
Well,
of
we
the-
can't talk like this.
Yeah,
We're not on
I'm
that
sorry.
subject right now. We're strictly on the celebration of trees right now.
Yeah, can I just,
Sure,
Robert's Rules clarification?
sure.
Is that you don't need to make a motion each time on a discussion item.
Okay.
If the item's up before you as part of the agenda,
Okay,
you can have an open discussion on it and go through the whole discussion, talk about
Okay.
every aspect of it,
Okay.
talk about whatever it is everybody wants to talk about without making any motion until you get to the very end of the discussion.
Okay.
So each individual
Decision.
decision does not have to be voted on.
All
So,
right.
I mean, that kind of may speed things up a little bit.
okay, help us with it. But we do need to, if we're going to suggest something, whether we kind of generally agree on whether or not we're going to do trees only or not.
Certainly.
So,
Well, I guess
Let's hear
per the discussion, I like your idea about, pursuing the canopy idea in celebration trees, but I also don't want to close out the idea of a shrub giveaway because I think that would be good for the invasive species. So
I agree.
is there a way that we
Yeah.
can, I guess, have a motion to do the celebration of trees, but also keep open the idea of the shrub? Yeah,
But that's gonna be two things,
I
and I
know
don't
that,
think we
and I
wanna
don't know
do
the
trees and then
protocol.
shrubs. And then we're not gonna have enough, if we spend $9,000 for trees, then we're not gonna have enough money for shrubs.
Well-
If we do it all at once, I mean, you know, if you want trees and shrubs, trees at this time, shrubs at that, that's gonna be double confusion. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think you can do both, because we've already talked, that was my clarification earlier in the meeting, is if you do the tree giveaway, you're not closing the door on the invasives, you're still open to that discussion. And I think you can say you're gonna do the tree giveaway, you're gonna do it in October, whatever date we end up with here. The biggest thing that you have to still decide on is if it's gonna be a percentage or a fixed number, dollar amount.
But we haven't
that
got
you-
anybody's motion or idea.
All right, we're not doing that yet.
Okay. Okay.
That's, Betty's still working on that.
Okay.
And so,
No, she's not.
and so
Dead in the water.
what happens is that
I need a better.
you can make a motion to go ahead with the tree giveaway, and then come back and visit the invasive and to decide that you're going to do something with the invasive part,
Okay.
do shrubs or do something else. The only thing is that your timing on those needs to be very close, like this meeting or next meeting, so that I know how much money is going in which direction.
I know.
So it's not something that you have to definitely decide right now today, because you're gonna give me the species, I've gotta look for them. And this, by getting them now, I get basically 2 months to start hunting for them.
Right, that's for the celebration of trees, but the other would have to be another time if we did that.
And then I can, you know, the quantity would be the only thing that would be, once I find them, then I know, you know, they may only have 40 of these and 100 of these or something like that. So the quantities I can change up to meet whatever that percentage changes if you decide to go in that direction.
Okay. Is a sky pencil holly a tree?
It's
It's a landscape shrub.
tall vertical shrub.
Okay.
It's good for border and low water usage.
Is
We
it
had-
a native?
That's,
What's the
well,
botanical
they
name?
gave it away here, and I noticed in 2008, so I would hope it would be.
But we weren't doing
Yeah.
natives so much in the past.
Okay,
We-
so I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Because I mean, I'm not okay with the holly, but what am I gonna get go upon holly?
Yes.
It's a tall evergreen. I mean, that's one of our most common native hollies in this area that'll grow pretty well. I can't think of really any others except for maybe
The American
deciduous-
holly.
there's- well, American holly, that's true. That's
And we're giving that
or
over
the
to the screen.
deciduous hollies. They're not evergreen.
That's a very big tall tree, isn't it, an American
Okay,
holly?
these are,
It
she's
can
written
be.
down the schedule of games.
It can be pretty big. If you let it grows slow, but it never stops, and
The American holly?
it gets candy.
Nothing on the 15th?
All right, well, listen, I guess we're going back to the subject of the date of it and get that over with. The celebration of trees.
Hold on just a second. Yeah, that's what he said.
Is that
Would you
their
pass it
open
over?
schedule date?
Pass this to Greg.
Technology.
Okay, guys, we gotta get busy on choosing. We haven't even agreed if we're giving all trees or not. Somebody has to say something on
I
that
make a
subject.
motion.
I guess he doesn't want us moving things.
No.
Oh, let's,
She wishes to make one.
can you, okay, go with it.
I would like to make a motion that we select native trees only and perhaps 8 varieties for Greg to pursue. It looks like in the past, there's been 6 to 9 different plants given away, so.
And trees, did you say trees?
Trees only, native trees.
Gotcha. Good girl, yeah.
Um,
Does anybody think that's a good, does anybody second this motion?
Did you finish?
Yes.
Okay.
8 native trees choices for the celebration.
suggest to
Anybody
Greg
want to
to
second that
proceed.
idea? Lacey seconds it, okay. So does, any discussion on this, Greg?
Could we make it 4 to 8? I may not be able to get
Right.
8 species.
Okay. 4 to 8.
4 to 8.
Lacey, you agree with that?
Yes, a second.
All right. Any more discussion on that subject? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so now that's our
Oh,
target.
you didn't say opposed.
Anything opposed on this subject?
Nay.
Oh, we have an opposed person here. I'm sorry.
Because I want some bushes too.
Right. Okay, 4 to 8 native trees. All right, now let's get some native trees. And that would be a little bit more difficult because in the past they have not been.
Can we make a motion for a ratio of trees to
You
shrubs.
already
It's all-
voted on it.
But all that the motion was for just 4 to 8 trees.
No, native
that was
trees.
all
Native
trees.
trees, all
Trees.
trees.
That was all trees.
We can,
Remember, you have the opportunity to come back and discuss the invasives
Okay.
and decide something on those.
We didn't say we're gonna appropriate all $9,000 for these trees. This is just a list for Greg to pursue.
That's what I understood.
okay.
Well, let me say something real fast.
Sure.
I think all this discussion is really good. And this may not be something we want to do, but I think that we've done the right thing with the trees. But I think we need to have something about shrubs as well. Cannot we do something separate, and instead of calling it celebration of trees, call it ridding the city of invasives and give away the shrubs?
At the same
I
time?
mean, if all we have to do is show up at the square and give away shrubs, then we've killed 2 birds with 1 stone. We've given away shrubs to people who want them, and we've given away shrubs to hopefully replace, at least educate people on invasives. This is a native shrub. Tear out an invasive. These are a list of invasives that are very common in the city: privet, honeysuckle, pine, whatever, and tear them out and plant this right here.
It still goes through the logistics of verifying that person has done some work.
He's not
Well, they
even
don't have to
saying
do
that.
anything.
He's not even saying
They don't have to
logistics.
do anything.
They
We
just
want
get
them, we're telling
educated.
them, we're asking them to please tear out these shrubs and replace it with this one. Educating them
So
with,
you would just be giving away shrubs?
like a
Separate.
celebration of trees.
Ay, ay, ay.
I'm sorry, if it was all at one time, it would have been a lot easier, but that's okay.
Anybody else want to pursue that idea? That we have some shrubs that we
And-
give away at the same time and,
I'm going to discuss a little more, because one of our goals is to educate. And I think to me, that's a good opportunity to educate.
but remember, we do have the opportunity to have another invasive species event of some sort, such as Greg described, where people, not just, he's saying that, use some of our money for that, buy some shrubs.
And that, could be, what I was discussing earlier, could be like that.
Yes, it could.
The only real difference is what I was saying is that we're trying to verify that they are bringing something to the solid waste department, composting place, and, delivering some type of invasives. And we know they've done some work of some type. We're looking at verifying that some
Yeah.
way. Maybe the committee doesn't feel that that's important. Maybe we just, want to give
Yeah,
away.
and then, if you don't like the idea, then let's not do it. I'm just throwing out
No,
one
but
way.
I kind of-
It seems to kind of maybe have one solid thing that we do that does a couple of things, but if
Just thought,
people don't,
Emily, first
we like to
committee.
give away some shrubs. People are, I'm not against giving away shrubs. We want to educate people on natives versus
And
invasives.
I think we would all agree with you. However, did we not just pass a motion that we were going to select 4 to 8 trees and that this
Yeah.
fall giveaway that we're about to get the date for is going to be a tree giveaway? We have not said that all the money has to go to that. I think the shrub thing's a good idea, and certainly educating people about the invasives is a good idea. I think that could be a separate thing, perhaps using a portion of the money, but,
That's what I'm suggesting.
okay.
Okay, then you'll just
That's what
hold
I'm
that off.
suggesting.
Right now, we have to
We'll
choose 4 to 8
continue,
trees.
we'll continue discussing
Help
that.
me choose 4 to 8 native trees. That's what our subject is right now.
Oh, we're choosing the trees now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did Shannon have a?
Shannon Hegwood, he's changing it because it's not native and it's not a tree.
No, it's not a tree. And that could make things really complicated and just make a motion to say how much money we're going to spend on trees. But I
Well,
won't
let
do
let him figure
I
that.
won't do that.
Here's a list of native trees. I mean, I don't know how we can, it was really impossible to do this. Greg, can you not help us, give us some ideas on this?
Well, that was what I was attempting to do by giving you the old schedule.
Yes,
Some
but
ideas.
they're not native and they're not all.
Well, that's true,
trees.
not all of them have been native.
Very few, in fact.
And there's a lot of things, if you use this native tree list that we approved earlier this year, the problem you're gonna find is that
You can't get half of them.
60 to 70% of them
Yeah.
will
So
not be
help
available.
us think of what we can get and give us some suggestions. Get
If
us an
we
every
list 8, but perhaps he'll be able to get 4.
Sure. And
Well,
every,
that's why I said 4 to 8. That's
let's
why I
say
said-
American holly, okay, or some kind of holly. Can we just give them categories, maybe? Lacey?
I just kind of made out a list, can I just suggest,
Sure.
and then we can
Okay.
maybe vote on?
Sure, or at least discuss.
Or discuss, yeah. I like southern magnolia. You have and magnolia on here, but southern is native. Is and magnolia native?
Is which?
Well, you
Southern
have,
magnolia?
well, yeah, but you have and magnolia on the list, like back in 2006, 2005.
That one is a variety. It's called Catherine Ann, I believe, is the full name for it.
Yeah.
It is not a native.
Okay, but can we get like a native magnolia? Like
Sweet Spire is a native, or sweet,
Well,
sweet something.
We have two. Bracken's Brown Beauty is a cultivar of southern magnolia that does the best here.
Okay.
That would be my suggestion.
All right, write it down.
Okay, so
So
And
we're
you-
discussing
there also is a
magnolia grandiflora.
Right, and this is a cultivar.
Yeah.
And then you have the Sweet Bay Magnolia. It's a good tree, but it is a little finicky about its root system. It likes a little bit of moisture. So if you take this home and plant it in a very dry yard, it might not do very well. So, I mean, it's something we could put out
So
there.
there's one idea, let's go for another. Got another, Lacey?
the river birch, that's native, right? Yes.
Does it take water?
You can, it
Yeah,
likes
it's on the
moisture
list.
much better, but it,
Pretty tolerant.
it's pretty tolerant of being moved to a drier site, much like bald cypress is, and sweet gums. Both of those you can take out from a wetland area and put them and grow them in drier sites.
Does river birch do anything for wildlife, native? I mean, does anything like to eat it or?
Worms love it.
Yeah, worms do love
They're
it.
unbelievable, boy, they eat them up. And
Any
birds
other-
eat worms.
Lacey, go on, let's hear. this.
The white flowering dogwood, I believe Cindy had said that she'd like to see that as well.
Does it need to be that Florida, the regular
Doesn't
typical
have to
one?
be.
Because that's the hardest thing to grow. Couldn't we get the rough leaf dogwood or something that has a lot more berries that birds like and is much easier to grow?
That sounds good.
That-
Yeah, I just
Except
wanted
it's
to
a
discuss
shrub or a tree considered rough leaf. It gets 20 feet.
It says tree, shrub.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Would you?
it's on the tree
Florida-
list, so.
Yeah, it's on the tree list.
So,
We'll call it a
make sure that the
flower.
one we pick isn't more of a wetland species like the what is it, the Cornus, Osher dogwood. Some of those dogwoods are almost wetland type species.
But this one goes in dryish, I believe. I
Okay,
read
that's what I'm
roughly.
saying, make sure we don't get, because
Right.
there's a lot, there's
The silky
a
goes
dozen
in.
native dogwoods, and probably about half like it to be kind of wet.
But this one doesn't. I mean, let's go
Okay,
with
yeah,
maybe the
good.
rough leaf if you can get it.
So rough leaf.
Anybody with that? Yeah.
How about at least
That will be
big
one that will be difficult to find.
Like a black
Yeah.
walnut. You want a large tree.
Wait, let Lacey finish hers and then.
Well,
it's just-
that's okay. I mean, I just wanted to have discussion
Sure,
and kind of actually
you
get
do.
some out there.
Yeah.
And then what about some type of cypress that's native?
If you already got the
All
paper
cypress
birch,
is
why
not
would you do
to
a cypress?
this area, but
Or is
where do
there
you want to
a
call
type of-
native? Arkansas? Then it's fine.
Yes, but that wasn't put in the motion, so,
Oh.
yes,
It's
I
native.
like some
It says
type of
native, it
cypress.
didn't specify.
Okay. So some type
Grows
of,
in northeast Arkansas.
Okay, they put it on the possibilities. We'll go down and decide these later. We'll just make a list of possibilities now.
you think so? There's a
And
lot out there.
Lacey, did you have another one?
Maybe. Yeah, the white oak. I think that's a good. Yeah.
Okay, so those are, okay.
What do you have written down now?
I have southern magnolia, river birch, rough leaf dogwood, bald cypress, white oak.
It's
And-
5.
And you were thinking of something, Shannon?
Oh, well, the oak suffices for that large tree. I was thinking the black walnut, but either one would be fine.
Black walnut would be another one, extremely hard to find, particularly before Thanksgiving. It's usually not.
And black walnuts, a lot of things don't like to grow under them, from my understanding. They're not good for general landscaping.
It's true.
I think the most important thing is have a variety of trees that accommodate the different soil types and moisture. And some
That's-
people have to choose, say, what kind of yard you got going on, or, do you have a yard that's been impacted by chemicals and it's dry, does have a strong organic base, and if not, then people can choose a more tolerant tree to that effect. That's probably the most important thing to make this successful.
We don't have an evergreen, we have the magnolia. Is there any other,
According to this list, we've almost always had a type of maple, and I personally love maples. To me, they, especially in the Wilson Park area, they really seem to define Fayetteville in the fall. I would like to see one of the species of maples represented. Does anyone have a,
I think we should do sugar,
pardon me, sugar maple?
Yeah.
Okay.
because red maples aren't native to this area, really. I mean, the
There
sugar
are.
maples are in the forest, and they're nice trees, they grow very well here. They're all down in the historic district.
Do we still have any kind of holly on the list? Yalpun's
No.
not considered an American holly, but,
James had an example.
Oh,
of
what's that?
Didn't you?
yes, go ahead.
You had a holly. that
It's
you
Yopon
mentioned.
holly. It's
But you have a tree
native
or?
to this area. It's a shrub, small tree, it's very, very shrub-like. It can get pretty tall.
But it is evergreen, isn't it?
It
People like
is.
that.
Now, it's not like a regular holly. It has small little
Little
leaves, and
rounded
they're not
leaves.
terribly shiny. It's not, one of its characteristics is its shape. It's got a kind of an interesting shape. There's the weeping variety, also the bark's really nice and gray, and but it's not like a Nellie R. Stevens or a Burford or something like that.
From the audience, we have comment.
I just wanted to say, ownership, the consideration for having some of these legacy crossover plants that might be considered a shrub is that you can plant them out near their power line with the hope that they won't get wiped out by the next.
Some people have
round.
smaller scale trees than others, according to the properties and stuff.
Right, and so that would be a reason to have something like that be out there.
So we have we have 1, 2, 3. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or so. How many do you have, Greg? Suggested so far.
I have 7, and I've written 2 alternates.
Oh, tell us those, please.
I've got southern magnolia, river birch, rough leaf dogwood, bald cypress, white oak, sugar maple, and Yopon holly. As alternates, I have black walnut and American holly.
Can you add one more? Maybe this is, how about, is a French tree native? It's native, isn't it?
French
French tree.
I believe so.
Yeah, it's hardly a tree, but I love it.
It's a small tree.
It's a very
Just
wonderful
a really
tree.
nice one living right now on the Millsap. They're nice, small trees, and they bloom really nice. And
What's the name again? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I don't know the botanical name, it's called
Chiananthus.
French tree,
It's Chiananthus or something
Yeah,
like that.
you're right.
and they're
There's
they're
one
not
in
very well
Wilson
known,
Park.
but I was really taken back by that tree. I went by and was like, wow, what is
And
that?
Greg, when you, if we were to give him this list and say, choose 8 from there or 4 or however many you can get a hold of, you would, if we had 2 or 3 hollies, you'd only take 1, right? In other words, you would try to round it out so we'd have a variety of trees rather than too many of one evergreens or whatever.
Sometimes what happens is I can only get 50 of these, 100 of those, and we end up with 250 white oak.
Okay.
That's what typically happens, is that there's, some of these species are limited in availability. Some of it's logistics too. You know, if we get this spread out over too many nurseries, the delivery charges start adding up. If we get them from 1 nursery or 2 nurseries, we get that delivery charge down and we actually get more trees. So that's another part that plays into this.
Does
You know,
anybody
I
have
might-
any more in the idea of such choosing trees, or should we just, someone, I don't know if we have to make a motion or what, and just hand it over to Greg and say, go with it? What do you guys think on that subject? Any more suggestions?
Seems like we have a good variety.
So,
I make a motion that we go with the list that we have.
any seconds?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against it? Hey, there you go.
We got something done already.
Okay, we still need to fall back to the date.
Yes, let's get that figured too.
You've got,
15.
Which date is not here? Oh, I see you have all the dates figured out. October 1st, Texas away. October 8th is here.
So the 15th works.
20, so the 15th is a blank one? Blank date?
Assuming that is
is that
their,
right?
what do they call that? Their,
Down or non?
I forget, I said it before, now I forgot what the name is. They're not,
There are
their
2
week
away
off.
games here.
Bye week, thank you.
Do we need to clear the date with anyone at either the farmer's market or the town center?
I will do both of that.
Okay. I move that we.
She has a motion
I'm
and
sorry.
she's setting the date, but she was just trying to learn more information about it.
Okay.
Okay, so it looks like I would suggest the October 15th.
And 6 o'clock in the morning.
6 o'clock in the morning for us,
Okay.
for the farmers.
Is this a motion somebody seconded this. Now, do we need to discuss this at all? Is this a good date for everybody? I guess that's the thing to ask.
Well,
And a good time? Does everybody want to get up that early, make it happen that early? Is that
We
the way-
do it, that's what
Is that
we do.
better?
Yeah.
Well,
And then
the
later?
issue is we have to be set up in the town center
Okay.
area
Okay.
prior to the farmer's market opening, otherwise we can't get up there with the trailer.
Gotcha.
That's
Okay.
why we have
That's
to
why
do
it's
that.
early, okay.
But just to clarify, the tree giveaway starts at 7 a.m.
Gotcha.
Not, and
Right.
generally the volunteers don't necessarily need to be there till about 6:15. 6 o'clock is fine, but we usually arrive about 5:45 or so at Parks and Rec, and we have to get the trucks and trailers hooked up and bring them up, so we get there about 6:15 to start unloading. So,
Yeah.
and that varies a little bit. It might be 6:10, it might be 6:20, but just to clarify for everybody. But so this is 6 o'clock for volunteers to be available at the town center. 7 o'clock that we will start with the opening of the farmers market.
Is there any discussion of this time, date, idea? All in favor of this time and date and place, say aye. All opposed, say nay, against, or opposed. I guess that's what's gonna happen on that day, okay? I don't know if we need to actually have a little committee now or later to kind of help do the publicity and help plan how this is gonna go, or is it that simple that you don't even have to plan? I mean, I've got a whole publicity system set up for my events, but I'd really like to get someone else indoctrinated into helping how to make publicity happen.
If I may.
Say something.
As far as PR,
Mm-hmm.
the city will send out a press release for the celebration of trees, but that's usually as much as we do for it.
Understand.
We had earlier talked as a committee about doing the weekend before, having a table there and giving out some flyers or information that this giveaway was gonna be done.
Yeah.
That's entirely still up to the committee to decide to do or not. And if there is other PR that people would like to do, I would certainly support that idea.
Could we put that discussion off to another time?
Website, goes on the website, correct?
Yeah, I will update the website.
Since we still have time to talk about that, could we wait to talk about that another time, what we're gonna do to promote this? That'd be okay, guys? Okay, good. All right, another thing is that on item number 4 on the agenda, we've kind of gone through 2 and 3 here at one time. I guess we can talk about invasive species. We like this went by the way, but never mind that. But item number 4, policy and procedure for spending donation money that we've collected. We have collected, I think, about $89 or $87 at our various events. And
Excuse me, the get-together yesterday, was there any money collected there?
I put 2 in and I took it back because nobody mentioned anything about giving money, so I was using that as seed money. I said, shoot, nobody else is going to pay money, I'm not going to either, so. Anyway, so we do have a little bit of money, and we asked Greg, I guess, to find out, I think he suggested that the city may have some policy about what we as the committee are supposed to do with our money. Do we have to have an account somewhere, or did you have a chance to
Well, I
find out?
apologize, is that I did go talk to our finance person about it. I got interrupted in the process of doing that, and I never did go back and follow up on it. So I did not do that, and I don't know if you would have any ideas or suggestions.
I don't know, I'm sure there is some
We could wait till another
policy
time.
regarding it,
Can
but
we put that
How
up?
about little carrot cards to go with the trees that we give away so that people know how to take care of it?
Oh, we don't, well, that's the point right now, or the subject right now is, they told us last time at our last meeting that there might be some rules about how we can spend our money, and we haven't had a chance to learn that yet. So maybe we should wait till next week to learn that, and then we can decide. And then the other subject was going to be, how do we want to spend our money, or under what circumstances do we want to spend that money? I don't know
If it's only $89, I don't think we should spend a lot of time talking about it.
Me either, I think that's really something for the future, because,
So I would just assume that Greg could find out the situation and email us. Is that okay, or can you not email?
No, I'll send that out, because you're not voting on anything.
Right,
It's
right.
a policy
So you can
procedure
just-
issue.
Just send us the
Yeah.
policy.
and then we can maybe know next time and maybe have more discussion on that subject. So
And just to clarify on Jan's question about the little cards, is that at the tree giveaway, I produce a flyer that's a 8.5 by 11, talking on one side about the tree, and then you flip it over and it's how to plant the tree. So everybody has the opportunity to take those with them. We end up with a lot of them left over.
the benefits of the tree, right? When you got your information?
No, it talks about the tree, about its size, height, and a little bit of information about the tree itself, and general description of it, and so forth. It doesn't say anything necessarily about, any depth thing about the value of what it produces or doesn't do or something like that. It talks about, you know, it's a shade tree, you know, used for shading, which goes to cooling, which then has a benefit of doing that, but it doesn't go into any great detail.
Okay, I think it should, but maybe that's something to talk about in the future. Okay, the next thing is committee business reports, and one of them is the education outreach program, which some of us have all been working on at times. And the first item you have on here is Frisco Trail invasive species removal follow-up. And Lisa Nedeman?
Yeah.
Anyway, we are waiting for, I mean, there's nothing really to do there at that site right now at the Frisco Trail, except we're waiting for the time when poisons are effective for the Japanese honeysuckle, and when they're effective, we'll go back with some certified poison applier. That could be Lissa, or it could be Bernie Kurtz, or it could be somebody, and we'll set up a work day that day. So that there's more to be done on that, but not yet. I think June might be the time that that's going to happen. The next one was landscaping with natives, the program we had just yesterday, and let's see, Emily and Lois helped with that as far as coming there and helping helping collect money and being part of making that happen.
There was no money.
Well, get people's names.
We got names and contact info.
Right, contact information. And that went, 37 people I think came to that. We had a very good turnout, and we've heard several comments from various people that they thought it was a very effective program. They enjoyed it very much. And Karen gave away a lot of native plants out of her garden. I went home with a lot myself after everybody else went home. So she was very generous in that, and it was people enjoyed it a lot. And as far as our next program, we're trying to get something set up about alternative salons, but we have not come up with a person who can speak on that subject, nor a place to have that subject. I've looked at the buffalo grass at the top of the hill and the places you said, and I think they aren't quite suitable for that particular purpose. And on that subject, I think it's something we just have to work on. We can't make it happen right away. It will happen when it happens. We'll keep our antenna out and learn more. And then Shannon and I talked a little bit about that when we met last week as a subcommittee. Our actual subcommittee that we're on is the one about the tree farm exploration subcommittee. And we talked about landscaping with alternatives, and we both have projects we're going to do as far as that's concerned too. But anyway, Shannon's going to report on our tree farm possibilities.
Well, we talked and we brought some literature together, but we need to get out to the site, take a look, and see what we've got. And I think as far as what Greg mentioned earlier about one of the goals being to provide a canopy for Fayetteville, we need a place to grow trees. And so we're going to check out this site, take some soil samples, and look at the feasibility and what it's going to take as far as labor to get a tree nursery out there. And in the end, it's a sustainable way to have a steady supply of trees, and also of different sizes without going out and spending money. And we do have our tree giveaways. We can pull right from this eventually, and it'd be a good way to get the community involved. We talked about the use of technology, adopt a tree programs via Facebook. I mean, there's all kinds of ideas. We need to get out there, take a look at it, and do some more talking. But I think we're at a good place right now.
So Shannon's idea, and he thought the first things we need to do is, if to decide whether to pursue this or not, we need to see that land, see what the irrigation possibilities are, what the kind of thing we'd be involved in. And so we've asked Greg to either go with us or at least tell us where it is, and maybe set a date today, if possible, that we're going to do this thing. And anybody in the committee that wants to go see it with us is welcome. We know we're going to go see it whenever Greg says, or whenever, generally, if that can happen. And he's showing us here the location that he's suggesting.
This is a section of Combs Park. This is off of Armstrong. You see over to the far left-hand side, it's Armstrong Avenue. And the road coming in is Pump Station Road. Comes down to the old pump station. And then just south of the pump station building that's on the river here is you have the irrigation comes off the creek and comes right up to that field where it says tree farm. That open area outlined by the trees on the east and the south side is the currently a sod farm that we use out there. but it's also an area that we have to start the possibility of a tree farm.
About how much acreage is that, would you say? Can you guess?
I haven't, I don't know, about a little over a quarter acre. It's not huge, but
But probably
it's a
doesn't
place
matter
to
for our
start.
purposes, right?
Yeah, that's probably close to an acre. That's a pretty big piece of land based on those cars.
I assume this map is north, south?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess the question to ask is how many people would actually like to go see that with us, and then we'll try to set our time accordingly. If not too many people are interested, it'll be with a lot more flexibility in when we go. So how many people actually want to go see this?
Well, first of all, I do have a Suburban that seats 9. So if anybody wanted to meet someplace, we could all caravan together to do that, if you're interested.
How many people? We have one that would like to go. We have another. So anybody else think you could do it at all? I know you're
This was
working.
on a weekend,
Yeah, a week, but not evenings, right?
not usually.
And Greg, of course, he doesn't. If he were to go, it'd be nice for people on the day for him. So
So who would be the person growing the trees? How would it be cuttings or seed grown or?
that would be to just be discussed.
I haven't got that far yet.
Yeah, I actually thought this, I brought this up earlier, and I thought it's a great idea, because, you guys just need trees, and they're so expensive to buy.
And we could grow them, and if you plant them, it shouldn't be that much big a deal to keep up with them and keep them going. So.
But you still let it in charge.
Yeah.
All right, so we have 4 people, and they're all people that can get there in the daytime, it looks like, the ones that are able to come. So Greg, I don't know if you want to go, but is there, the week after next is when I was hoping we could set up a time. Any ideas on that subject?
Mondays are usually a bad day for me, and Wednesday mornings. Other than that, I don't have a lot of appointments scheduled yet for next week or that week, so I'm fairly flexible.
Are you talking about next week
The
or
week
the week
after,
after?
the
next
week
week?
after.
The 23rd.
The week of the 23rd?
Uh-huh. I wish I brought a little calendar, because I goofed up myself. I don't even know myself. Shannon, are you kind of, you know, if you'll be open?
I'm open.
Okay. Lois, are you kind of available, you think?
Fine.
You are?
What about Tuesday afternoon sometime? Would that
Sounds
work?
good.
2, 4,
How about either
3.
one?
How about 2? Might be hotter than that, but it might not. Tuesday, the 23rd at 2?
24th.
24th.
So we just have to decide where to meet.
Yeah.
If we met here on the square.
Is that hard for parking or not so bad? No, there's free parking.
You can park for 2 hours, we wouldn't be gone more than that.
How about meeting at the square? That's a great idea. It's kind
At
of
2
fun.
o'clock?
At 2 o'clock.
Okay,
On
what-
this side, okay.
Is everybody going to ride together then?
You can.
Does
Where do you
everybody
want to meet,
okay
on
with
what
that?
side?
Why don't we say this side that's closest to this building, then?
Okay.
The south side? South side of the square?
Okay. Like in front of the
Okay.
the
And we're,
city building that
and we're
in.
going to bring the soil sample kits?
Oh, yes, I'm gonna get some soil sample kits from the extension service, and we're gonna maybe take some soil samples there while we're there. We thought of that.
That'd be interesting. to
Couldn't
see
hurt
what's in
it.
there.
Okay, I better follow up on that. Thanks for reminding
Okay,
me.
Tuesday the 24th, 2 p.m.
Okay,
south side of Square.
Good deal, okay. Okay, so that's kind of the beginning of that subject, and we'll follow up with you. We'll report to you, and we may come up with more ideas, and you can chime in at any time. We're down to other business and announcements, and I have a few there. But I think, does anybody else have an announcement or other business they want to bring up to us? Greg?
I just want to make everybody aware that next month, we will be doing a review of the 2011 tree escrow plantings, and that will be a meeting that will be advertised to the public for them to come and participate if they wish to.
Mm-hmm.
And what that is that this committee will have the ability to review what I'm suggesting, species placement of trees for the escrow planting,
Mm-hmm.
and that they will also take comment from the public as to if there is any, if there's any concerns about the tree species that may be in front of their homes or something like that, and then either approve or make suggested changes to the plan. So I just want to give you a heads up that that will be coming next month.
Okay. Does it normally take quite a bit of doing, or should we schedule quite a bit of time for it, you think?
This will be the first time that it's come before the committee.
Oh, okay. So we don't know.
All right.
Don't find out.
You may have explained in the past what tree escrow.
Great question.
Explain what it is.
Tree escrow, what that is that during the developmental process, say for a subdivision, which is mostly what this money comes from, a residential subdivision, you will have the developer actually goes in and puts the streets in, puts the water lines, the sewer lines, the drainage in, and the stop signs, the fire hydrants, and all that kind of stuff. And then the individual lots are left for builders to come and buy and build homes on. And so what happens is that you have all this infrastructure in place, but you don't have the homes there yet. And one of their things that they have to do is they have to mitigate for the trees that they took out. And so they have to put these trees, plant them in the right-of-ways of these subdivisions. Well, if you go ahead and plant these trees with the rest of the infrastructure, when the builders come in to build their homes, between all the construction crews, the equipment, the supplies being dropped off, you're liable to end up with most of these trees being run over or accidentally killed in some way, shape, or fashion. So in order to avoid that, the developers have the option of putting this money into the escrow account, whereby the city takes that money, we hold on to it, we wait for the subdivision to be built out, which hopefully happens within 7 years, because that's as long as we can hold on to the money. We either have to spend it by that time or give it back to them, and then they don't have to plant the trees. So what we do is we do take that money. We have, I think, 10 locations this year, and roughly about, depending on what the bid comes in at, because we're going to bid this as contract work out, there'll be between 350 and 450 trees planted in these 10 locations. And so that's the project that will be coming before you. Is I'm going to show you each one of these locations. I'm going to show you the suggested locations that I feel the trees should go in, and then also give you the species that I'm suggesting be planted there from our recommended street tree list. And that will be your opportunity to review that material, and then also if there's any public that wishes to comment on those tree species or placement locations or things like that. But all the trees will be planted in the street right-of-way. It will be on the right-of-way side of the sidewalks and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, you have explained that, but I had forgotten, so now I
That's
understand.
good for me to remember, all of us, I guess, to be reminded.
Next week, no, next month, excuse me. Better on.
Oh my, there's such a list of other things, and one of them is that we by city code are supposed to be giving away tree awards of some sort each year, in conjunction with, isn't that in the code?
No.
It's not in the code?
That is
In
part
the
of that.
proposed code.
That is in the proposed code.
Oh. We kind of wanted to do it though this year, didn't we?
You may.
Is it something anybody wants to pursue? Other business? If they do, they'd have to come, somebody would have to volunteer, I'm telling you this, to come up with a criteria about who would we choose and how would they enter it and all of that kind of thing. Does anybody have the energy and interest to make that happen?
Does it have to be trees or can it be shrubs?
In this case, it's trees.
I think the idea behind it, originally discussed, again, we don't have the setup for it. That's what this person or subcommittee would be doing. But the general idea was to point out those persons or corporations that took an extra step to either preserve trees, replace trees, or landscape. So if they did way above and beyond the landscaping that they were required to do, that might be something worth nominating and awarding. You know, that's up to the committee how they want to look at those things. But the other side of that is just not landscaping, but if somebody needed to preserve 25% of their parcel and they did something that worked their design of their parking lot and their building and their structure, so they saved 40%, then that might be worth pointing out. And the idea behind this was to have some way to point out those persons or corporations that are taking an extra step to do either some kind of tree preservation, tree planting, or landscaping that's above and beyond requirements of code, or even if they didn't, if they say some corporation went in and just tore out all their old landscaping because it looked bad and put in this whole new landscape. It had nothing to do with development. They didn't, you know, come in for development permitting, but all of us just happened to see this place out on the road out there and say, wow, they really did a great job. You know, it could be that as well. That was kind of the idea behind it. Now that idea needs to be refined by the committee.
It wouldn't be that hard. Someone could look at some other cities' ideas on the same thing and copy their application process, and we could have a publicity thing. I mean, it would just take someone going home and kind of making up the little entry forms or whatever, and us getting the word out that people could be nominated for these categories. It wouldn't be a hard thing to do.
I'd be interested in that.
Would you like to do
I
that?
would.
Would you find out? Okay, then we want to talk more. You've got a general idea pretty much what you're going to
I do.
or-
I do.
Okay. Great. Will you report to us next week about next month about
Sure.
that? Thank you.
I have a completely unrelated question.
It's not. Is it other business? You might call it.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead and do your other business before I go on.
Do we currently have any vacancies on our committee?
That's a good question.
No.
No, okay. Because I was gonna suggest if we did that Aubrey might want to
Henry
apply
and
because he's
Cindy.
come.
No,
He's
Henry's, his wife had surgery.
Okay, okay,
Oh, okay.
okay.
Okay, let's see here. Oh my, let me think what else. Two things I wanted to say. Oh yeah, about invasive species. You handed us or gave us by internet the city's interest or knowledge about what we have to do say
This
about
one or the
invasive
other?
species.
Yeah, this is out of the landscape.
And this, all it does is list some, not even many. And it just says any species not indigenous to a region which become established and displaces natives, and they're considered a low priority for preservation, and don't cut them out in stream sides and things, I guess. Bottom line, this is all we say about invasive species. We really, as a city, don't have a policy much about invasive species. We don't even list very many that are invasive. And I wonder if anybody wants to tackle, through time, doing a better job with getting our codes or ordinances or a policy by the city, at least a policy, because remember we talked about getting word out to nurseries locally that we prefer that they don't sell, or at least they educate people about certain ones that they do sell. Does anybody care about?
I'm not volunteering, I'm just questioning. Silver maple is one that's listed, and yet silver maple is
Native.
is on this native list, although this says invasive or less desirable.
Yeah, that one would fall under less desirable.
Okay.
So when I'm going, that list is something for myself and the engineers or landscape architects that are looking at a piece of property to develop it. We would then go to that list, and if we have, you know, if it's lots of silver maple, they would fall into the low priority category as far as for preservation.
I guess what I'm saying is other cities do have policies, not necessarily codes, but just ways of handling or getting people educated. We don't really have right to educate people until we have a policy in the city, in my opinion, because we don't have a particular opinion as a city about invasive species. And I wondered if anybody wants to work on that at all, looking at what other cities have, and whether it's something we want to do a little bit, get more specific in our own city about this, or is that just too much to get tackled right now?
Well, what is the final goal of that?
You tell me. Would we want to change our code? Would we just want to get an education thing out there, but the city has to endorse it in some way?
I guess I have the same question. I mean, what's your motive? I mean,
What's my concern?
do you want to just simply to educate the public, or to actually set up a policy that,
I think a policy of some sort. Cities have
To limit the
policies.
sale of non-natives?
yeah, that's my question.
I would like that to be the policy, but
Yeah, so that's what I thought, and I'm gonna tell you, that's gonna be really tough, because you have the entire state of nurserymen who are gonna push back on that really hard.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna tell you right now, about 80% of the plants they sell at nurseries are non-natives. So you're
I didn't
asking
say
me-
natives.
Well, and I'm saying
Invasives.
80% of the species they sell at the nursery are probably non-natives.
I didn't say
Yeah.
natives, I said invasives.
Yeah, the idea is,
Okay, all right,
is
okay, that's
invasives,
a good,
is that the discussion about whether they're able to sell them within the city is a total different discussion than what we're kind of looking
Yeah,
at.
that's what-
That's a legal issue.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, is that would be a hard thing.
Yeah.
And I'm
But
with you,
we're-
because I don't think, privet, that kind of stuff,
Should be sold.
yeah, but you can't keep it from selling it.
Aren't there certain types of bamboo that are illegal to be sold from nurseries? I may be wrong about this, but I thought that someone had told me that.
Well, I'm guessing that in some states there are illegal plants. Like
Yes.
I bet you in Florida, the pepper bush is illegal to sell, and probably in Hawaii. and places
Some
like
cities.
that. But that takes a lot. I mean, that's not something that, that is a really,
And I was thinking the
Sure,
opposite.
expert.
Shannon mentioned the incentives, or at least education. If we, as some group could go, we could develop a little brochure or something that Lynn says why or why not nurseries should be selling these, and at least go out and talk to them, various nurseries, or get the word around that they probably aren't even aware. If they are, they don't know that anybody even cares that they're selling certain invasive plants.
Most of the people are some sort of, when you're a nursery person, you have to be licensed with the state.
Yeah.
You have some sort of
Maybe something to talk about another
And
time.
I hear you.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's a good idea to a certain extent. I mean, I would like to see something not sold.
Our city doesn't have a policy whatsoever, as far as I can see, except what you just passed around, which is very little a policy.
Yeah,
And
like
maybe we
freedom.
want more of a policy, that's all I'm saying. But I thought maybe someone would like to look at other people's policies and see if there's any ideas we
Well,
can
I'll
get.
tell you what, because I've said a lot about it, I'll try to do that and come next time and look it up. Because I mean, this is something I've thought about a lot myself.
Yeah.
And there certainly are some plants that.
Just see how they handle it. Cities have ways of encouraging and discouraging, and how do they do it? I just wondered, maybe there's something we could do
Yeah.
differently. Okay. Oh my, I'll save for another time. Okay, the only other last thing I had to say then is that Fru has been, as a volunteer, making videos of all of our programs. And we have donated, she has made copies of those and put them on DVDs, and we have donated those to the library. So I want people in the world to know that they can go to the library and check out programs that we've done for this committee. She's got copies of the one, Why Do We Want Biodiversity, that Cindy did. She's got copies of the one, Effects of Non-Native Plants on Birds and Insects, that Professor Steinkraus and Bernie Kurtz did. Professor Steinkraus did that one. And she also just lately gave me some DVDs on removing invasives at the Frisco Trail that Professor Steinkraus and Bernie Kurtz did, and to take to the library, and I just took them to the library. So anyone who wants to check those out, if they didn't get to attend any of those events, they can go to the library and get copies of them and see those things. So it's a great time, a bit of effort on Fru's part to make something available to many more people that can attend the events. That's about all I have today. Does anybody else have another suggestion or comment?
Oh, I would say that Fru's also given me copies which are on YouTube. You
Okay.
may see on YouTube.
The same things.
Those same, which is an alternative way to find them. And I want to commend you guys. Each of these presentations each has been excellent. And I enjoyed yesterday's more than anything, I think. And
The one that
inspired me to
Terrence-
get out early and start making more wildflower pictures today.
Can you give us the keywords to find those on YouTube? How would we find those?
If you go to my channel, Aubrey Shepard's channel, or Aub Unique, AUBUNIQUE, and just Aub Unique. They're on there. If you have to scroll down, I've got a couple other things on there. But back to the, if you do that award, talking about what kind of people to reward with an award, you might consider how they landscape as well as how good it looks, at a given time. I get pretty depressed when I walk out my driveway and I smell the spray and look out up the street there and the guys are spraying the grass along the edge of the street, which is adjacent to the park and just 100 feet from the nature park. And then I'm up on Martin Luther King and some guy is running a little machine and I go ask him, what is this machine? It doesn't look like the blade's touching the grass. Oh no, that's spreading the herbicide and the and the fertilizer. It's not even a mower. And I said, well, isn't it expensive to fertilize and use a herbicide, which will eliminate native species primarily because they have some target grass they say it won't allow to grow there. Then you have to mow it. So this whole effort the city is talked about officially at the council level and administrative level is to reduce some of those things on, we hope, on our city land. And I noticed that Walker Park, for instance, is still mowed right down to through the riparian zone, which should be the riparian zone, and that hasn't changed. And I hope you're not, I know they have to fertilize in the ball fields because you have to have a certain quality to let the kids play on these days. We just played in whatever mode park we could find when I was growing up, or just a bare dirt field. But anyway, so if somebody is using some reasonably sane methods for their landscaping, they might deserve more credit than somebody who has all these things going on. You're not helping wildlife if you're spraying. You're not helping wildlife if you're killing the native plants. And one of the points that in the past, and still going on to a great extent, these little green spaces that should be little native rain gardens or little natural rain gardens on development sites, water runs off of there. It's captured rather than running in from the paved areas. The paved areas should be sending their water into a grassy area, and that's not happening under our old method. So there are many things. If somebody's got a really up-to-date way of doing things, they follow best management practices, and we're talking about them a lot, but an award like this should honor somebody who's trying to use those best management practices. Thank you.
I think you're absolutely right. When I come up with these proposals and these designation criteria, I'll definitely have that in my mind. That goes a lot with what Nancy and I talked about, these alternative to lawns, or people that come in and spray their herbicides and pesticides. It may be aesthetically pleasing, but there's a long history of ecological disaster. It affects water quality, and I figure why not start with the business community and try to designate these businesses that are, not only beautifying the landscape, but also going about it in a responsible way. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Anything else that anyone needs to speak about today at our meeting? Do I hear a motion that we adjourn?
I so move.
Ready? Anybody second?
Second.
Lois, second, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you.